So what's up everyone, welcome back. This is Big Kyle, coach of the Belize City Braves, and we're kicking it off week 1 of the Whaling Sands Draft League. We're in Earth League playing Regulation F, and today we're up against Guardian Forge. As I mentioned in last week's video, this is a Sun-focused team built around Choice Specs Charizard. The goal is simple: control weather with Torque Wall, set tailwind with Jump Off, and burn everything in sight. For this week, I brought Terra Fury, Mental Herb, Cresselia. Right, I wanted to have my Trick Room option, so there's a lot of bulk invested in this Cresselia. I also went with Terra Ghost, Flame Order Ursaluna. This is just a standard Ursaluna set. We have some investment in some bulk and special defense, and of course we have our attack. Up next is Terra Water, Covert Jump Off. Standard Jump Off, max HP, max speed. Next up we have our Trick Room Attacker, which was Terra Fire, Eject Pack, Torque Wall. Right? This is so we could fire off Overheat, get switch out, and then come back in and fire off Overheat again. Alright, this is very important. Next we have our Terra Fire, Clear Amulet, Slitherwing. This is an attacker that can focus in and out of Trick Room based on different speed tiers, right? So wanted to use that. And finally, the main attacker, which is Choice Specs Terra Fire Charizard. Right? On my opponent's side, the two Pokemon I was worried about were Hisuian Arcanine and Shein Pao. Between Intimidate, Priority, and the insane damage those two can absolutely run a game if you're not being careful. And so I wanted to try my best to play around those two. Anyways, let's jump into game 1 of week 1. Alright, let's get it. So, obviously, I'm trying to go Sun, so I lead with Jump Off and Torque Wall. This is very standard for me. Get Sun, get Tailwind, and immediately apply pressure. My opponent leads with Sceptile and Engaging Mail, and right away we see Psychic Seal activate, and that is a curious one. So Sceptile raises its special defense, and I'm mostly filled with special attackers at this point, right? So I'm going to set that Tailwind, trying to get that speed, and we see Terrestrialization, and Sceptile goes to Terra Rock, and this is where things start to go wrong. So I just looked at the mons that my opponent was bringing, and most of them I have the stats in mind, but not the abilities. So I did not know that Sceptile was unburdened, right? So Rock Slide comes out, it goes into Jump Off, it misses Torque Wall, but then Expanding Force from a DD picks up the KO onto Jump Off. I do get some value though, because Overheat from Torque Wall just deletes in DD, and of course Eject Pack is going to activate, and I'm going to bring in Slitherwing, right? So this allows me to get out Slitherwing, and then this allows me a free switch into Charizard, so now I could start to implement some offensive pressure, right? Shiny Charizard. Lovely shiny Charizard. So he sends out Odin Dark. So he is now bringing in his Shein Pao. Right. So at this point I'm thinking that Shein Pao is Focus Sash. and I'm confident I could clean up Sceptile with close combat, especially since Shane Power is lowering its defense. But I made a mistake. I have forgotten about Unburden. I know I have Tailwind up, which doubles my speed, but Unburden also doubles Sceptile speed, and Sceptile is now the fastest thing on the field despite me having a Tailwind. Right? So Sceptile's fired at Acrobatics, and Silverwing is gone. It's 4 times super effective. I could have Terrafied there, didn't think about it. Charizard goes for Heat Wave. Of course, I didn't Terrestrialize, I was running out of time, so both Pokemon survive, and then Shane Power fires back with Crunch. Alright, and of course, we see the big solar power tick. So I just bring it back Torkoal here. There's nothing much I could do. My opponent goes for Rock Slide. It does misses Charizard, and Heat Wave picks up the KO, but Solar Power Recall is just gonna finish me off here. And Guardian Forge, who is our opponent this week, takes game 1. So basically, I'm already in trouble. All right, let's get into game 2. So for game 2, I completely switched gears. I'm leaning into my Trick Room mode. Sceptile was just too much, so I'm trying to slow the game down. So I led Cresselia and Ursaluna. My opponent makes an incredible read here and leads Indeedee and Hisuian and Arcanine. Right? This turn decides the game. So I already know that Indeedee Male has Imprison, but I was hoping that based on the damage that it did to Jumpluff and me having HP and special defense, that it was Specs. So if he has Imprison, I lose, but if he doesn't, then I'm in the driver's seat. So I make the gamble, I protect Ursaluna, and I go for Trick Room. Arcanine terrors into flying here, probably anticipating Earthquake coming in from Ursaluna. And Indeedee reveals Imprison, Trick Room fails, and the game is basically over. Arcanine Flare Blitz into Cresselia does very decent damage. So you can see Trick Room fails. Ursaluna activates its Flame Ward, so Guts is currently active, but after the Intimidate, my attack is basically neutral at this point. So, trying to find some answers, trying to see how I could scramble and make something happen. expanding force comes out, and the double up from Flare Blitz. So that's it for Ursaluna. Ursaluna is gone thanks to that double up. Cresselia still has a decent chunk. I got the special attack drop off the Moonblast, but I'm just barely hanging on at this point. I'm definitely playing from behind. So I bring in Slitherwing. I'm trying to make a play. I'm thinking he wants to Flare Blitz into. He definitely wants to Flare Blitz into Cresselia. So I'm gonna lead. I'm gonna switch into Torkoal. Leaning heavily into the Terra Fire, and I should have in hindsight Terra Fire and Flare Blitz into Arcanine, but at the time I didn't realize that Arcanine was banded, so I went for the recovery option into indeed a meal by taking Leech Life. So I did predict this, and this was a pretty good switch. So of course it's going to be expanding force. I had the Terra Fire, if not I was going to take super effective damage from expanding force and super effective damage from Flare Blitz. So had the Terra Fire here. So the expanding force didn't do as much damage thanks to the special attack drop, and even though that's a sun boosted Flare Blitz, we hung on with Torkoal and Leech Life took out indeed me. Again, I should have target down Arcanine, but I was already flustered from the turn 1, and so right now I'm just trying to get some KOs. In comes Sceptile. We see Psychic Seed activate. It's going to raise Sceptile special defense, and of course Unburden is going to activate, making it the fastest thing on the field. I was hoping they would make a mistake and double target, but Sceptile reveals Earthquake, and with Arcanine being Terra Flying, it can safely go. It can safely go for Earthquake. That's goodbye to Torkoal, and Flare Blitz here is going to go into my protected Slitherwing. Again, I should have noticed that it has only been taking Flare Blitz, which means that it's 100% choice banded. But that's the game. So in hindsight, Ally Switch would have been the better move here, but instead I went for Lunar Blessing and Leech Life to get back some life. Right? And this Terra, that choice banded Flare Blitz, sun boosted, was enough to take me out. And the game is basically over. All I have left is Cresselia. I didn't take an attacking move this turn, so Lunar Blessing is just gonna come out to give me back some life, and I can't survive the double up. Yeah, I wasn't trying to stall here. I was just dealing with my son. He was kind of being a little bit fussy, but we knew what it was. double up, and Cristela went down. And we didn't recover enough HP so that the recoil could have taken out Arcanine. So we lost the game 3-0, and we lost week 1 2-0. But honestly, this match was a massive learning experience. I underestimated Unburdened Sceptile, and my opponent played clean, disciplined Pokemon. So as the Braves, we're 0-1, but the season is long and we're just getting started. If you enjoyed the breakdown, drop the like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week for the rundown.